Mikel Brown Jr. was incredible in his first game back from injury. The Cardinals offense looked much better with their star point guard on the court. It's no coincidence. You're locked on Louisville. Let's break it down.
You are Locked On Louisville, your daily podcast on the Louisville Cardinals. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Card Nation, what's going on, everyone? Welcome into this Monday edition of the Locked On Louisville podcast. I'm your host, Dalton Pence. This is my sixth year covering U of L, fourth year hosting this show. Thank you so much for making Locked On Louisville your first listen of the day and Locked On, the #1 sports podcast network in the world. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. It's the last call for football on FanDuel, and if you're a new customer, you can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets if you win. There's a lot to discuss on this very snowy Monday edition of the show. The Cardinals handle business on Saturday. They covered the spread against Virginia Tech, and I got to say, this was one of the best performances that I've seen from Pat Kelsey's team in quite some time. We'll explain why that is. We'll also preview the upcoming rematch on Monday night, Louisville versus Duke. We'll break down everything you need to know about that matchup, but we're going to begin today's show by discussing the main storyline. Mikel Brown Jr. is back. He started the game against Virginia Tech. It was his first game back from injury. He had missed over a month, last appeared in the game against Memphis at the KFC Yum Center in mid-December. So missed over a month, and he started the game against the Hokies on Saturday. Now, I'll admit, when we got the news earlier last week that he was going to practice that week, I thought that they were going to slowly ease him back into things, slowly ramp him back up into game speed, and I just didn't think that he was going to play against Virginia Tech. I thought if you could get him back for Duke, that would be great, but it seemed like early February was going to be most likely. Well, it seemed like what actually happened was they were very cautious about, bringing him back in terms of the timing. So when things were right for him to return, he got back to practice to build his stamina back up and to just get back into game speed. He started the game on Saturday. What's also awesome about him returning to the court is it puts to rest all of these rumors that swirled on message boards, all these rumors that spread on social media that either A, he was sitting out and not actually hurt, or B, I guess you could combine these two, B, he wasn't going to play for Louisville for the rest of the season, or C, like he had all this draft film that he needed to get and he got it, so he's just going to sit out and go to the NBA draft. And all of that was proven to be incorrect when he was announced in the starting lineup on Saturday. And when he was, there was a pop in the KFC Yum Center. It wasn't a huge crowd, but a good crowd considering that there was a snowstorm arriving in the Kentuckiana area. But when he was announced, and he's the first name that gets announced, there was an anticipated roar from the crowd because, Louisville fans were anxiously awaiting his return. We didn't know when he was returning, but the truth of the matter was he was dealing with a back injury that was tricky. Back injuries by nature are tricky. I understand it was frustrating for the fan base, for the coaches. You know who was probably the most frustrating for? Mikel Brown Jr. You want to know how I know? Look at his body language from Saturday. I mean, this guy was so stoked to be back out there with his teammates. You couldn't see this on TV because it was pregame in the warmups. But, he was just bouncing off the walls with excitement. You could tell that this was super frustrating for him, and him being able to return, you loved to see the excitement that was on his face. And you saw that excitement multiple times throughout the game. He had an and one, I think it was in the second half, and he's sitting there just smiling ear to ear, and he's laughing, and you just see the joy that he's playing with. And you go back and look at all these random rumors that had no sense of validity to them, like, oh, he's sitting out on purpose. He's not going to play again. And I get it. Rumors swirl when uncertainty is present, but it was awesome to see him get back on the floor. It was basically like a allow me to reintroduce myself type performance for Mikel Brown Jr. Because I can confirm after watching him on Saturday that Mikel is still very good at the sport of basketball. He was incredible in his first game back from injury. And look, here's the thing. When he got hurt, he was kind of struggling to shoot the basketball. Struggled against Indiana, had some struggles against Memphis and Arkansas, but on Saturday against Virginia Tech, led the team with 20 points, shot 50% from three on 6 attempts, 7-11 from the field, 3 of 4 from the free throw line. He had 6 assists, 3 rebounds, and a steal, turned the ball over 4 times. Played 29 minutes, which was third on the team behind Ryan Conwell and Javon Hatt. I thought that his impact was much greater than the box score because he was just impacting the offense in multiple ways. And there's no coincidence, it's no coincidence that the Cardinals offense looked much better with their star point guard back on the court. What a concept that is. Your offense is better with your star point guard back. Now, made it a point of emphasis to say that even missing one player shouldn't cause you to struggle that much, but the reality is that it did. But I think you start out here. The offense looked much better because of the responsibility that was added to a couple players' workload got alleviated. Over the past month, he's done a good job at doing all this, but Ryan Conwell had to be your go-to scorer, had to be your go-to ball handler, had to be your go-to facilitator, had to be your go-to creator for a good amount of minutes per game. Now, not everybody is Chucky Hepburn. What Chucky did last year is not normal. It was rare. I thought Conwell did a good job of holding his own. Isaac McKneely had to get a ton out of him. Same with Adrian Woolley. And with Mikel back, you just can't defend Louisville that way. You can't put all your focus on 1 to 2 players on the floor. With Mikel back, the gravity that he commands, even when he's not shooting the ball well or maybe playing particularly great, when he's on the floor, you got to know where he is at all times because he's just that talented of a player. He's a superstar, and that's how teams defend superstars. You have to have a game plan for him. So now that Mikel is back, well, you see Ryan Conwell gets better looks. Same with McKneely. Same with other players. It's funny how that works. A couple other reasons why the offense looked better. The tempo. Mikel got the ball. They're up the court in transition. Even when Pat Kelsey got hired, we knew how fast they played. When Mikel went down, the numbers didn't really reflect that. And there's a Twitter thread at the Best Wager on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. It's a great analytical thread. And I want to bring a couple of these into the equation here. Transition volume without Brown, like 16.3 at 1.05 points per possession. Duke, 21.1, 1.45 points per possession. UVA, 10.8 at 0.67. Boston College, 19.4 at 1.36 points per possession. With Mikel Brown against Virginia Tech, 25.2 points per game at 0.73 points per possession. So that volume right there shows that you're playing faster. When Mikel gets the ball, he's pushing the envelope. He's getting up floor. And even if he's creating transition and sending that outlet pass up court, there's just an emphasis when he's on the floor. Also, his ability to create off the dribble, not only facilitating, but his ability to create his own shot off the dribble is such a valuable skill, a valuable luxury for this offense because, again, it goes back to this notion that there's an immense amount of gravity that he demands when he's on the floor because he can score anywhere in the half court. He can create his own shot from the perimeter, which we saw a couple times. He can get to the mid-range and rise up and create that separation on his jump shot. Don't forget, he's 6'5". And not to mention the facilitating. Getting downhill. That's something we're going to mention here when we break down the Virginia Tech performance. There was an emphasis on getting downhill. Mikel Brown Jr. gets the ball, and he's attacking the basket because, again, he's 6'5". He's extremely crafty with the ball in his hands. He's pretty athletic. He gets the ball to the basket, attack in, attack to the rim, and kicking out. And inside out, I mean, no, there's no secret as to why Louisville got better looks shooting the ball. And one of those reasons is because Mikel Brown Jr., he's not the only one that took the ball to the basket, but his ability to get to the rim forces the defense to collapse. And when they do, you have the ability to kick it out to an open shooter in the corner or at the top of the key. It's something that it's an aspect of the offense that Louisville has been desperately missing. But it's something that it seemed like it was a point of emphasis for Pat Kelsey's team to penetrate and get to the basket. There's a lot to be encouraged about against the performance against Virginia Tech. We'll break it down when we come back. Don't go anywhere. You're tuned into Locked On Louisville, covering your team every day. It's the last call for football on FanDuel. One final Sunday, one last kickoff, the final chance to get in on the action before the NFL season officially comes to a close. This is Super Bowl 60, and FanDuel is making sure you are right in the middle of the action with a special offer just in time for the largest game of the year. Whether you're backing the favorite, riding with the underdog, or building one last same-game parlay, this is the game everyone's been waiting for. This is where predictions turn into plays, stats turn into storylines, and every snap feels more critical. It's the perfect way to cap off the season and make the Super Bowl even more exciting from kickoff to the final whistle. If you're a new customer, bet just $5 and you'll get $200 in bonus bets if you win. Make it count, because after the Super Bowl, the season's over and we go a couple months without football. Last call for football on FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of Super Bowl 60. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. As I mentioned, thank you so much for making us your first listen of the day. If you haven't already, you got to join the Everydayer Club. There's no reason why you shouldn't. If you haven't, go check it out. You get access to an ad-free audio feed for Locked On Louisville, which is compatible with Apple, Spotify, every other podcast app. You'll also get an invite to the members-only Locked On Everydayer Club Discord server, which includes a group chat just for listeners of this show. So go to lockedonlouisville.supercast.com or tap the link in the show notes to learn more. Let's continue the discussion regarding Louisville's 85-71 victory over Virginia Tech on Saturday. Yes. They covered the spread. It was an up and down game to start out with, but I was really impressed with multiple things that the Cardinals did. Before we get into those things, I got to say, I thought that Virginia Tech coming into this matchup, even though it was a quad two opportunity for Louisville, Virginia Tech just around the top 50, I thought they've really gotten the short end of the stick. Like, you look at 3 losses in January before the Louisville game, and all 3 were on buzzer beaters. The SMU game was essentially a half-court buzzer beater, and that's just a brutal way to lose. I mean, of course, hypotheticals, ifs, shoulda, coulda, woulda being considered, Virginia Tech was a couple of, like, if 3 buzzer beaters don't happen, Virginia Tech has 2 losses, undefeated in ACC play, and they look much better. Now, I understand, shoulda, coulda, woulda all day long. You win or you lose. Doesn't matter what hypothetically could have happened. The only thing that matters is what did happen. But I did think that the schedule and the win-loss record didn't paint the picture as to how quality of a team Virginia Tech was. Now, Virginia Tech came into this game with a very, very good offense, averaging over 80 points a game, but a lackluster defense. Now, to start out with, it was kind of flip-flop. Virginia Tech's offense couldn't really get anything going, but their defense was doing a decent job. Like, Louisville, very sloppy early on. Turnovers, bad shots, wide open shots that missed, you name it. But they used good defense to just kind of wait it out and wait for the dam to burst. They played really good defense in the first half. I thought they made life extremely challenging for the Hokies on offense. Amani Hansberry, the leading scorer for the Hokies, ended up with 12 points, but he was 4 of 12 from the field, 3 of 6 from 3. I think all those came in the second half, if I'm not mistaken. But They forced 13 turnovers in the game, got multiple key players in foul trouble, but defensively, they had 2 players go off, Jalen Bedford and Ben Hammond. Outside of that, Louisville's defense was intentional. They did a really good job at switching on ball screens. They didn't get caught out of position often in the first half. So it was kind of low scoring for a good portion of the first 20 minutes. And then Louisville's offense got going. There was a point in the first half where Mikel Brown Jr. Actually, I'm sorry, it wasn't Mikel. It was Ryan Conwell hit a 3, then made a layup with about 8 minutes to go in the first half. You had Kobe Rogers with a layup. Sananda Frew followed up with a 3-pointer. And then that started to open things up for the Cardinals. Woolley would hit a 3-pointer at about 3 minutes and some change. Hadley had a layup. I think it was an and-1. Mikel had a fast break dunk, and then they ultimately ended up leading by 15 going into halftime. What happened in the second half is Louisville answered every Tech run. Virginia Tech, until late in the second half, shot over 70% from 3 in the second half. They were 10 of 13 at one point. And all that considered, Cardinals were still leading by double digits. So every time Virginia Tech hit a 3. Now, some of these were open shots where Louisville didn't really close out all that well. Some of them you just kind of tip your cap and it's like, okay, man, good shot. Actually, a good amount of those were fitting into that category. I mean, Virginia Tech just shot the ball really, really well from behind the arc in the second half. They're a pretty decent three-point shooting team, but just one of those spurts where they just seemed like they couldn't miss. But every time Tech tried to make a run to get back in the game, Louisville had an answer. There was a specific run where Tech hit a couple threes, and then you had Mikel hit a 3, Ryan Conwell hit an and-1 3, and that just epitomized the second half performance. It's almost like they're playing damage control, just making sure that they just kind of waited out the clock and got the W. Louisville won 85-71. If you took the spread at 13.5, congratulations, you cashed. But there was a point of emphasis in this game to get the ball to the basket. And when you look at the overall numbers, Louisville shot the ball well at various points this season, but they shot 47% from the field, 39% from 3, 13 of 33. They got some really good looks from behind the arc. And it was a result of getting to the rim and kicking it out. What a concept that is, right? Like, that's what we've wanted to see, is an intention to get to the rim. Now, sometimes they missed a couple shots. Virginia Tech played really good defense on a couple other ones. Toby Lawal, guy's super athletic. I mean, he altered a couple shots. Like, Virginia Tech played really good interior defense around the rim at a couple different points in the game. But the Cardinals kept it, they just kept it going. Excuse me. They kept it a point of emphasis. Get to the basket. Because when you do, high percentage shots, or you get fouled, or worst case scenario, you kick it out to an open shooter and you get one of your good shooters a clean look. And you shot almost 40% when you did. No secret as to why that is. So on-ball defense was much better in the first half. I still think it was okay in the second half. It's just Virginia Tech shot really well. They scored 49 points in the second half. So you look at that number, you're like, man, they just did. There's no way Louisville played good defense in the second half. It wasn't like, oh my gosh, this is suffocating defense. But don't forget, Virginia Tech caught fire for three-point land in the second half. Some of these were just, my goodness, tip of the cap. And then Louisville's offense, much more intentional, penetrating and getting in the lane, getting to the rim, getting those paint touches. Isn't that what we wanted all along? Isn't that what Pat Kelsey and company wanted all along? Now you're hoping that that extends to Monday's game against Duke. Before we get to that, I do want to mention something that I saw is that Vangelis Zougaras played 6 minutes in this game, but that is 6 more minutes than Kason Pryor played. Pryor did not play in this game. Kenai Roots didn't either, but Kenai Roots was on the injury report. He's still out, returning from that illness. But Kason Pryor didn't play. Just something to monitor is that February is next Sunday. It's a week from yesterday. And he's not playing normal minutes. He's not appearing in consistent action. So it's just kind of hard to – it's just been heartbreaking for him, right? Because he is a leader for this team. And it seems like at this point, until I see it, it just doesn't seem like Kason Pryor is going to be a regular in this rotation as we get closer and closer to the end of the year. So Louisville has a very, very, very quick turnaround. They will play at Cameron Indoor Stadium on Monday at 7 o'clock in the rematch against Duke. What did we learn from the first matchup with the Blue Devils? What does Louisville need to correct? And how much of a difference does Mikel make in this game? All that coming up. Don't go anywhere. You're tuned into Locked On Louisville, covering your team every day. Card Nation, this is Mazda's moving the game forward. For those who show that there's more to the score than what's on the screen. A player that moved the game forward this past weekend for the Cardinals was, of course, Mikel Brown Jr., a team-high 20 points in this game. He was the catalyst for the Louisville offense, and the Cardinals offense looked much better with their star point guard on the floor. Mikel raised the bar for the Cardinals, dialing in on every detail. That's grit, and that's that I never quit mentality. We put that same passion into every Mazda model. Highlights make the reel. What it took to get there makes it count. There's more to a Mazda because there's more to you. Card Nation, be sure to hit that subscribe button on YouTube. Leave us a comment in the YouTube section below. Both are great ways to help this show continue to grow as we get closer and closer to 5,000 subscribers on YouTube. And thank you so much for making us a part of your everyday routine and being a member of the Everydayer Club. Now, full transparency, this is being recorded at about 4 o'clock on Sunday afternoon. I wouldn't think so, but I guess there is always a possibility that the weather that we've gotten over the past 48 hours could alter the game time or alter the fact that the game is being played on Monday. Who knows? But as of 4:19 on Sunday afternoon, the game is still scheduled for 7 o'clock at Cameron Indoor Stadium down in Durham, North Carolina. Duke has a 77.3% chance to win, according to ESPN's analytics. The Cardinals looking to get revenge from an 84-73 loss from earlier in January in a game that they led by 9 points going into halftime. So I think we got to start out here. What went wrong in the first game? Like, what are the major issues that we saw? And I think the first, not first thing, we'll just kind of go down the line. First off, Pat Kelsey got outcoached by John Scheyer in the second half for the third straight matchup between these two teams. 3 times Louisville's had a first half lead. 3 times Louisville gets outplayed in the second half. Is that because the Blue Devils have more talent? Maybe that has something to do with it, right? I mean, you have top 5 NBA draft picks almost every year. Maybe that has something to do with it, but it was a chess match, and it has been a match that Pat Kelsey's lost the 3 times that he's played with Scheyer. The Cardinals didn't have any second half adjustments. Duke decided to defend Louisville's guards further up court. It made the Cardinals' backcourt struggle. Forced bad shots, unnecessary turnovers. Louisville's offense couldn't get anything going when the 3-point shots were falling in the second half. Louisville's defense, out of position. They allowed Caleb Foster to dominate them in the second half, taking it to the rim. They gave up too many open looks. They didn't match the physicality that Duke played with. So I don't really want to rip that Band-Aid off and make you all relive what went wrong against Duke because I've turned the page. But if you want to talk about how you can beat Duke, you got to first mention again what went wrong in the first matchup. Seemed like everything in the second half. Now, how much of an impact does Mikel have on this game? Because he didn't play against Duke last time. Huge impact. Because he's one of those big game players, right? Excels when the spotlight is on him in the brightest moments. This is an opportunity for him to go up against Cameron Boozer. A lot of people are going to be watching this game on Monday night. A lot of people are going to be snowed in. Hopefully everyone, hasn't been affected too harshly by this winter storm, whether you're in Louisville, whether you're not. But Mikel's going to have an impact on this game because Mikel is a really good ball handler. That's something that helps, as you can't underestimate, having multiple ball handlers on the floor. So not all of the defensive attention is going to be centered around Ryan Conwell. You have to, of course, defend Mikel Brown Jr. as well. So if Duke is going to make it a point of emphasis to defend the Cardinals further up court like they did in the second half of the first game, well, I like Louisville's chances better when you have Mikel on the floor. And guys don't get worn out as much because you're substituting more frequently. The Cardinals didn't really get anything going towards the rim in the first game. Mikel helps out with that. Defensively, I think that Mikel would be a better option to defend Caleb Foster than Ryan Conwell or Isaac McKneely would be. Foster used his strength to get to the basket and expose Louisville's perimeter defense. The Cardinals didn't defend the three-point shot well. They were out of position. They fouled a good amount, and they allowed guys to get to the basket almost at will. So having your star point guard back, of course, makes a huge, huge difference on both ends of the floor. Offensively, he gives you another ball handler, lead facilitator, a guy that can score anywhere in the half court, a guy that lives for these types of matchups, can get downhill toward the rim defensively. Being 6'5", of course, he's not the strongest guy, but being 6'5" and being a better defender than people want to give him credit for, I think that that's going to help when you have him defending players like Caden Boozer or Caleb Foster, who destroyed you last game. So what Louisville needs to do in this game is they need to match Duke's physicality. I think that's the first thing. They have to learn from what went wrong in the first matchup. They have to play like they did against Virginia Tech. Emphasis on getting to the basket and not being one-dimensional, because when the three-point shots aren't falling in Cameron Indoor, you got to be able to have some offense or you're going to get blown off the court. Just the way it is. Pat Kelsey has to do a better job of counteracting what John Scheyer does, because he's gotten out-coached in the last 3 second halves that he's coached against Scheyer. So this is one of those things where Pat Kelsey's, it's not just him, but the Louisville program needs to prove themselves against Duke. Say, hey, look, yeah, I don't have the signature victory yet. I've been out-coached against Duke so far. We didn't match their physicality, but that's why you play a second time. This is an opportunity to flip that narrative and to go out there and get potentially one of the best wins in college basketball. A win at a top 3 team in the net on the road. That's a resume solidifying type of victory. So we'll break down what happens in that game when we come back on tomorrow's show, but that's going to wrap up this Monday edition. Everyone have a great day. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Go Cards.